Commander Jin-Ho Park sat at his desk on Earth Station Alpha, drinking his morning coffee. It was supposed to be a quiet day. The coffee was still hot when the emergency alert came through his communication panel. "Commander Park, urgent message from the Galactic Council," his assistant called out. Jin-Ho put down his coffee and walked to the main communication center. His team was already gathered around the large screen, looking confused. On the screen was a message that made no sense. "We don't kill humans. We don't kill humans. We don't kill humans." The message repeated over and over. Jin-Ho read the data on the side of the screen. The message came from a species called the Zephyrians. Earth had never met them before. "How long has this been playing?" Jin-Ho asked. 6 hours, sir," Lieutenant Sarah Kim replied. "They sent it to the Galactic Council first. Now they're sending it everywhere." Jin-Ho scratched his head. "Everywhere? What do you mean?" "Jin-Ho, what do you mean?" Sarah pulled up another screen. "Sir, they're not just talking to us. They're sending this message to every military base in the galaxy. The Coraxians got it. The Velthari got it. Even the Traders Union got it." This was very strange. When new species made first contact, they usually sent greetings. They talked about peace and trade. They didn't announce that they wouldn't kill specific species. "Do we know anything about these Zephyrians?" Jin-Ho asked. Dr. Min-Jun Lee, the station's alien expert, stepped forward. "Very little, sir. They come from the far edge of the galaxy. Long-range scans show they have a large space fleet and advanced technology, but they've never talked to anyone before now." Jin-Ho looked at the message again. Something about it bothered him. "Why? Humans? Why? Are they specifically saying they won't kill humans?" "Maybe they're afraid of us?" Sarah suggested. The idea seemed silly. Humans were new to space travel. They had been part of the Galactic Council for only 50 years. Many alien species were much older and had better technology. But Jin-Ho remembered the stories. Earth came from what other aliens called a death world. The gravity was high. The weather was dangerous. The animals were mean. Other species often said humans were tough because of where they came from. "Pull up our reputation files," Jin-Ho ordered. "What do other species say about us?" The computer showed reports from the last 50 years. Most were good. Humans were known as hard workers. They were fair in trade deals. They helped during emergencies. But there were other reports too. Reports about human soldiers who never gave up. Stories about humans who fought when other species would surrender. Tales about human ships that kept fighting even when they were badly damaged. Jin-Ho read one report from a pirate attack 3 years ago. Human cargo ship, Lucky Star, had been attacked by 6 pirate ships. The report said the human crew fought for 8 hours. They used their cargo loading machines as weapons. They turned their ship's lights into blinding weapons. They never stopped fighting until help arrived. The pirates who survived said they would never attack human ships again. "Sir," Sarah called out. "I'm getting more information about the Zephyrian message. They're not just sending it to military bases. They're sending it to criminal organizations too." "Criminals?" "Yes, sir. Pirate groups, slave traders, mercenaries. Anyone with weapons is getting this message." Jin-Ho felt a cold feeling in his stomach. Are they warning the criminals not to hurt humans? Or are they warning everyone that humans are dangerous? Dr. Lee looked worried. "Sir, if they're sending this message to criminals, they might have heard stories about us. Bad stories." Jin-Ho knew what he meant. Pirates and slavers talked to each other. They shared information about easy targets and dangerous enemies. If human soldiers had hurt enough criminals, word would spread. How bad could the stories be? Jin-Ho wondered out loud. Sarah was working at her computer. "Sir, I'm trying to trace where the Zephyrians might have heard about us. I'm looking at criminal communication networks." The computer made a soft sound. Sarah's face went pale. "Sir, You need to see this. On the screen were intercepted criminal messages from the last 10 years. Jin-Ho read them with growing concern. Avoid human space. They never stop hunting. Lost entire crew to human patrol ship. Humans don't take prisoners. Human cargo ship destroyed my whole fleet. Stay away from Earth sectors. Humans are death world monsters. They fight in vacuum without suits. The last message was clearly false. Humans could not survive in space without suits. But the other messages showed a pattern. Criminals were afraid of humans. Very afraid. Jin-Ho understood now. The Zephyrians had been listening to criminal communications. They heard pirates and slavers talking about humans like they were space monsters. Dr. Lee, are any of these stories true? Some of them, sir. Humans do fight harder than most species. We don't give up easily. But we're not monsters. Jin-Ho looked at the still repeating message. We don't kill humans. The Zephyrians weren't announcing friendship. They were announcing fear. Sarah, I want you to prepare a diplomatic team. We need to contact the Zephyrians directly. Yes, sir. What should we tell them? Jin-Ho thought about it. How do you tell an alien species that you're not the monster they think you are, especially when some of the stories might be true? Tell them we want to meet. Tell them we come in peace. And tell them we're not what they think we are. Sarah nodded and started working on the message. Jin-Ho looked out the window at the stars. Somewhere, out there, an entire alien species was so afraid of humans that they announced their peaceful intentions to the whole galaxy. The question was, what had humans done to make them so afraid? And more importantly, was their fear justified? Jin-Ho picked up his coffee. It was cold now. This was not going to be a quiet day after all. Lieutenant Sarah Kim's ship approached the Zephyrian homeworld 3 days later. She expected to see a normal planet with cities and space stations. Instead, she saw something that made no sense. The planet looked empty. Are you sure this is the right place? Asked Ensign Park Taemin, her communications officer. Sarah checked the coordinates again. This is it. But where are the cities? Dr. Lee was studying his scanner. I'm detecting massive underground structures. The entire population appears to be living below ground. This was very strange. The planet had good air and water. The weather was mild. There were no signs of war or natural disasters. Why would an entire species live underground? I'm getting a signal, Taemin announced. They're directing us to a landing pad. The landing pad was small and hidden in a valley between 2 hills. As their ship touched down, Sarah could see elevator platforms rising from underground. Dozens of armed Zephyrian soldiers surrounded the landing area. The Zephyrians looked like tall, thin humans with blue skin and large eyes. They carried energy weapons, but kept them pointed at the ground. When Sarah and her team stepped out of their ship, several Zephyrians stepped back. One Zephyrian approached them. He was shaking. I am Defense Leader Vex 9, he said through a translation device. You are the humans? Yes, I'm Lieutenant Sarah Kim. We received your message about not killing humans. We wanted to talk. Bun. Vex 9 looked at his soldiers. Some of them were backing away further. Please, follow us, but slowly. Do not make sudden movements. Sarah was confused but followed orders. They took an elevator deep underground. The journey took 5 minutes. When the doors opened, Sarah saw the most amazing underground city she had ever seen. The city was huge. Millions of Zephyrians lived in tunnels and caves that stretched for miles. The technology was incredible. Flying vehicles moved through wide tunnels. Lights that looked like stars hung from the ceiling. Gardens grew in artificial sunlight. But everyone they passed stopped and stared at the humans. Your city is beautiful, Sarah said to Vex 9. But why do you live underground? It is safer, Vex 9 replied. Above ground, we can be seen. Underground, we can hide. Hide from what? Vex 9 stopped walking. From you. From humans. From the things we have heard. Dr. Lee stepped forward. What things have you heard? Vex 9 led them to a large room with chairs and a table. Maps of the galaxy covered the walls. Red marks showed human space. Warning symbols were everywhere. We have been listening, Vex 9 said. For many years, we listened to space communications. We learn about other species. We learn about humans. Sarah sat down. What did you learn? Vex 9 pressed a button. The room filled with recorded voices. Sarah recognized the languages. They were criminals speaking in trade dialects. Listen, Vex 9 said. The first voice was rough and scared. My ship attacked a human transport. We had 10 ships. They had 1. When the fight was over, only I survived. The humans never stopped fighting. They used pieces of their broken ship as weapons. They are not normal. Another voice spoke. Humans don't feel pain like other species. I shot one human 5 times. He kept coming. They are machines, not living beings. A third voice was crying. They followed us for 3 months. 3 months. Across 7 star systems. Humans never give up. Never. They will hunt you until you are dead. The recordings continued. Story after story of criminals who had fought humans and lost. Each story was more frightening than the last. Sarah felt sick. These are criminals talking. Pirates and slavers. Of course humans fought them. But how humans fight? Vex 9 said. This is what scares us. He played another recording. This one was different. It was from a security camera on a space station. Sarah watched human security guards fight off alien pirates who were trying to steal medical supplies. The humans were outnumbered 3-1. They should have lost. But they kept fighting even when they were hurt. They used tables and chairs as weapons. They protected civilians behind them. When one human went down, another took his place. They won, but it took everything they had. You see, Vex 9 said. Humans fight like they are already dead. Like they have nothing to lose. This is not normal. Dr. Lee tried to explain. We fight hard when we have to, but we prefer peace. Vex 9 showed them another display. It was a list of human military actions over the last 50 years. Most were against pirates, slavers, or hostile aliens who attacked first. Every fight, humans win, Vex 9 said. Even when they should lose. Even when enemies have better weapons or more ships, humans find a way. Sarah looked at the list. It was true. Human military forces had an incredible success rate, but they fought only when they had to. We don't start wars, Sarah said. We only fight to protect people. Yes, Vex 9 agreed. This makes it worse. Worse? How? Vex 9 looked at his hands. Species that fight for glory can be reasoned with. Species that fight for profit can be bought off. But species that fight to protect others? They cannot be stopped. They will do anything. Sarah began to understand. The Zephyrians weren't afraid of human aggression. They were afraid of human determination. The stories say humans will fight in space without suits, Vex 9 continued. That humans can survive radiation that kills other species. That humans never surrender, even when defeat is certain. Some of those things were true. Humans could survive in harsh conditions better than many species. They did fight until the end, when protecting others. We are strong, Sarah admitted, but we're not monsters. Vex 9 nodded slowly. Perhaps. But monsters fear humans. And if monsters fear humans, what should peaceful species think? Sarah had no answer for that. She was beginning to see the problem. Humans had built a reputation by fighting criminals and protecting the innocent. But to aliens who only heard the stories, humans sounded like unstoppable warriors. Why did you send the message to everyone? Dr. Lee asked. So all would know. Vex 9 replied. Zephyrians are peaceful. We do not fight humans. We hope humans will not fight us. Sarah looked around the beautiful underground city. An entire civilization. Hiding from a reputation humans didn't even know they had. Dr. Min Jun Lee spent the next week talking to Zephyrian leaders. Each conversation made the problem clearer and more complex. He sat across from Scholar Yex 7, the Zephyrian expert on alien psychology. Between them was a table covered with files about human behavior. We have studied your species for 60 years, Yex 7 explained. Every action, every war, every rescue mission. We built computer models to understand human thinking. What did your computers tell you? Dr. Lee asked. Yex 7 opened the first file. Humans are the only species that gets more dangerous when they are losing. Other species surrender when defeat is certain. Humans fight harder. Other species, borders, other species, other species. Dr. Lee nodded. Sometimes that's true. But only when we're protecting something important. Yes. And humans think many things are important. Family, friends, strangers, even alien species they never met before. This was true. Humans had fought to protect alien colonies from pirates. They had risked their lives to save other species during natural disasters. Yex 7 opened another file. Humans have a concept called going down fighting. Other species do not understand this. When we face certain death, we try to negotiate or escape. Humans choose to fight anyway. Not always, Dr. Lee said. We prefer to avoid fighting. But when fighting cannot be avoided, humans become something else, something frightening. Yex 7 showed him a video. It was from a rescue mission 2 years ago. Human soldiers were saving alien civilians from a crashed ship. The ship was sinking into an acid lake on a hostile planet. The rescue should have been impossible. The acid was eating through the human soldiers' protective suits. The planet's atmosphere was poison. But the humans kept going back into the ship to save more people. One human soldier, Sergeant Kim Young-soo, made 7 trips into the ship. By the last trip, his suit was failing. The acid was burning his skin, but he carried out 2 more alien children before the ship sank completely. He lived, but just barely. You see? Yex 7 said. No other species would do this. The risk was too great. The logical choice was to save who they could and leave. Dr. Lee felt proud and worried at the same time. Sergeant Kim saved 12 lives that day. Yes. And this is why we fear humans. You do not think like other species. You risk everything for others. Yex 7 opened more files. Each one showed humans doing things that other species thought was impossible or crazy. Human miners who stayed behind to rescue trapped alien workers while their mine collapsed around them. Human pilots who flew their damaged ships into enemy vessels to protect civilian transports. Human medics who treated wounded enemies during battles. Each action is noble, Yex 7 said. But together, they paint a picture of a species that cannot be predicted or controlled. Dr. Lee was beginning to understand the Zephyrian fear. You're not afraid we'll attack you. You're afraid you can't understand us. Exactly. Our computers cannot predict human behavior. When faced with impossible choices, humans choose options that our models say should not exist. Yex 7 pulled up the most disturbing file. It contained reports from criminal organizations across the galaxy. Dr. Lee read them with growing discomfort. Pirates had stopped attacking human ships because the crews fought too hard. Even when they were obviously going to lose, humans would damage or destroy the pirate ships before going down. Slave traders avoided human space because humans would chase them across multiple star systems to free captured people. Mercenary groups refused jobs against human targets because humans had a habit of turning hopeless situations into costly victories. The criminal networks have created warning lists, Yex7 explained. Species to avoid. Humans are at the top of every list. But these are criminals, Dr. Lee said. Of course we fight them. Yes, but how you fight them is what scares us. Most species fight criminals to stop them. Humans fight criminals to destroy them completely. Dr. Lee couldn't argue with that. When humans fought slavers or pirates, they didn't just drive them away. They hunted them down and made sure they couldn't hurt anyone else. There is something else, Yex7 said quietly. Something that worries us more than human strength. What? Human friendship. This surprised Dr. Lee. You're afraid of our friendship? We have studied species that became allies with humans. The Altarian bird people, the Kepler water dwellers, the Centauri crystal beings. Dr. Lee knew about those alliances. They were some of humanity's closest friends in space. All of these species became stronger after allying with humans. Yex7 continued. But they also became more like humans, more willing to fight, more willing to take risks, more protective of others. That sounds good. Perhaps. But it also means humans change other species just by being near them. Your courage spreads like a disease. Dr. Lee had never thought about it that way. But looking at the files, he could see what Yex7 meant. Human allies did become more aggressive in protecting others. We have a saying on Zephyria, Yex7 said. Better to fear a lion than to become one. You think being our ally would make you too much like us? We think it would make us willing to do dangerous things. Things that might get us all killed. Dr. Lee sat back in his chair. The Zephyrians had spent decades studying humans. They understood humans better than humans understood themselves. And that understanding had made them afraid. What if I told you that humans are also afraid sometimes? Dr. Lee asked. Yex7 looked surprised. Afraid of what? Of going too far, of becoming the monsters that others think we are, of losing control and hurting innocent people. This is not in our files, because we don't talk about it much. But every human soldier wonders if they're becoming too hard. Every human leader worries about the cost of protecting others. Thanks for watching. And then one to bit a word. And we can't subscribe. I was a now for other now. Yex7 made notes on his computer. Fear of becoming monsters. This is new information. Maybe that's the real difference between us, Dr. Lee suggested. We're afraid of our own strength. That fear keeps us human. Yex7 looked thoughtful. A species that fears its own power might be safer than one that does not. That's what we hope, Dr. Lee said. Captain Lee Soo-young had spent 2 weeks tracking down the source of the anti-human stories. What she found made her angry and confused at the same time. She stood in the briefing room aboard her ship, the Soul's Pride, looking at evidence that changed everything. Sir, we've traced the stories back to their sources, reported Intelligence Officer Kim Dong-hyun. Most of them are true. But they've been changed. Changed how? Kim pulled up a holographic display showing the original incident reports next to the criminal versions of the same stories. Here's an example. 3 years ago, the merchant ship Happy Trader was attacked by pirates near the Vega system. The human crew fought back and drove off the attackers. Soo-young read the official report. 2 humans injured, pirates fled after losing 1 ship. Standard defense action. Now here's how the criminal networks tell the story. Kim continued. The criminal version was completely different. In their telling, the human crew had pretended to surrender, then attacked with hidden weapons. They had hunted down the fleeing pirates across 3 star systems. They had tortured captured pirates for information. None of that was true. The criminals are lying? Soo-young asked. Not exactly, Kim replied. They're mixing real events with made-up details. The result is stories that sound real, but make humans seem like monsters. Kim showed her more examples. Every human victory against criminals had been turned into a horror story. Real events were combined with fake details to create legends about unstoppable human warriors. But why? Su-young wondered. Why would criminals make up stories that make humans sound more dangerous? The answer came from an unexpected source. Communications. Specialist Park Ji-woo had been listening to criminal radio channels. "Captain, I think I know why," Ji-woo said. "The stories aren't meant to scare other species away from humans. They're meant to scare other criminals away from human space." Su-young didn't understand. "Explain." "The criminals who spread these stories are smart. They want to keep human space for themselves. If other criminals think humans are too dangerous to fight, they'll stay away. Less competition for the criminals already working in our area." This made sense. Criminal organizations competed with each other. If one group could scare away the competition, they would have more opportunities for themselves. So the criminals in human space are spreading scary stories to keep out other criminals? Exactly. But the stories got out of control. Now even peaceful species like the Zephyrians believe them. Su-young studied the evidence. The truth was stranger than fiction. Criminals were accidentally protecting human space by making humans sound like monsters. She decided to test this theory. Her ship traveled to a known pirate base on the edge of human space. What she found there proved everything. The pirate base was run by a Coraxian crime lord named Thek 5. When Su-young's ship appeared, she expected a fight. Instead, Thek 5 immediately sent a surrender signal. "Human ship, this is Thek 5. We surrender. Please don't destroy us." Su-young was confused. Her ship was alone. The pirate base had 12 armed ships. They should have been confident about winning a fight. "Thek 5. This is Captain Lee. Why are you surrendering? We know about humans. We don't fight humans. Too dangerous." Su-young decided to meet with Thek 5 directly. She took a small shuttle to the pirate base, accompanied by 2 Marines. Thek 5 was a large, muscular alien, with 4 arms and sharp teeth. He looked like he could fight a bear and win. But when he met Su-young, he was nervous. "Captain Lee, welcome. Please, sit. Can we offer you food? Water? Whatever you need." The pirates were treating her like a dangerous animal that might attack at any moment. "Thek 5, I want to understand something. Why are you so afraid of humans?" Thek 5 looked surprised. "You don't know? The stories about human fighters are legendary. Thanks for watching. Thanks for watching. I'll see you s. What stories?" Thek 5 told her tales that made humans sound like supernatural warriors. According to him, humans could survive in space without suits. They never felt pain. They could track enemies across infinite distances. They fought with weapons made from broken spaceship parts. "Where did you hear these stories?" Su-young asked. "From Vorthak the Destroyer. He fought humans 5 years ago, lost his entire fleet to one human cargo ship." Su-young checked her records. Vorthak the Destroyer had attacked the cargo ship Lucky Break 5 years ago. The human ship had been defended by its crew of 6 people. The real story was simple. The human crew had used their cargo-loading robots as weapons and called for help. A human patrol ship had arrived and driven off the pirates. But Vorthak had told a different story. In his version, the human crew had fought like demons. They had used impossible weapons and shown no fear of death. "Thek 5. What if I told you the stories aren't true?" Not true?" Thek 5 looked confused. "Humans are strong, but we're not supernatural. We can be hurt. We make mistakes." Thek 5 shook his head. "The stories come from many sources, too many to be false." Su-young realized the problem. The criminal networks had been telling these stories for so long that even they believed them now. "Thek 5. Why do you stay in human space if you're so afraid of us? Because other criminals are also afraid. Less competition here, easier business. There it was. The criminals in human space were using their fear of humans as a business advantage. What would happen if I told the galaxy that the stories about humans are exaggerated? Thek 5 looked horrified. You can't do that. If other criminals learn humans are not monsters, they will come here. More pirates, more slavers, more competition. Bad for business. Su Young understood now. The criminals had created a trap for themselves. They were so invested in the scary stories about humans that they couldn't admit the truth without destroying their own advantages. But there was another side to consider. She thought about the Zephyrians hiding underground because they were afraid of humans. Thek 5. What about innocent species? The ones who believe the stories and are afraid to meet humans? Thek 5 shrugged. Not our problem. If they want to hide, let them hide. Su Young felt angry. Criminal lies were preventing humans from making friends with peaceful species like the Zephyrians. But she also realized something else. The lies were working as protection. Fewer pirates meant safer space travel. Fewer slavers meant fewer kidnappings. The question was it worth being feared by innocent species to keep criminals away? Su Young didn't have an easy answer for that. Ambassador Park Hai-jin stood at the airlock of her ship, looking out at the Zephyrian homeworld. With her were 20 humans who would help change everything. The group included teachers, doctors, artists, and families with children. No soldiers, no weapons. Just ordinary people who wanted to show the galaxy what humans really were. Are you ready? She asked her team. 8-year-old Lee Min-soo, the youngest member of the group, raised his hand. Aunt Ye-jin. Will the aliens still be scared of us? That's what we're here to find out, Min-soo. The past month had been busy. Commander Jin-ho Park, her brother, had sent reports about the criminal lies and Zephyrian fears. The Earth Council had decided to try something new. Instead of sending more diplomats, they would send normal humans. The shuttle landed at the same underground platform where Sarah Kim had first met the Zephyrians. But this time, things were different. Vex 9 was waiting with fewer soldiers. When he saw the human children, his expression changed from fear to confusion. Ambassador Park, these are human warriors? No, Hejin replied. These are human families. Min-soo walked up to Vex 9 and held out a drawing he had made on the ship. It showed a human child and a Zephyrian child playing together. I made this for you, Min-soo said through the translation device. Vex 9 took the drawing with shaking hands. He stared at it for a long moment. Human children make art? All the time, replied Min-soo's mother, Dr. Park So-young. Min-soo wants to be an artist when he grows up. The Zephyrians looked at each other. This was not what they expected from the species they feared most. Over the next week, the human visitors lived in the underground city. They ate meals with Zephyrian families. They played games with Zephyrian children. They shared stories and music. The breakthrough came when disaster struck. A section of the underground city collapsed during a mining accident. 12 Zephyrian workers were trapped deep underground. The tunnels were too narrow for Zephyrian rescue workers to reach them. But humans were smaller and could fit through tighter spaces. Firefighter Kim Tae-hyun volunteered immediately. We can get through those tunnels. Die. I think. Vex 9 was torn between hope and fear. It is very dangerous. Radiation levels are high. The tunnels might collapse more. That's why we have to try now, Tae-hyun replied. He led a team of human rescue workers into the collapsed section. Dr. So-young went with them as medical support. Even Ambassador Hai-jin helped carry equipment. The rescue took 18 hours. The humans crawled through spaces so narrow, they had to remove their equipment and push it ahead of them. They held their breath in flooded sections. They endured radiation that would have killed most species. When the tunnels started collapsing again, the humans made human chains to pass the trapped workers to safety. Tae-hyun stayed behind to make sure everyone else got out first. The Zephyrians watched in amazement as the human rescue workers brought out all 12 trapped miners. Everyone survived. But the humans were hurt. They had burns from radiation, cuts from sharp rocks. They were exhausted and sick. Zephyrian doctors worked to help the injured humans. Vex 9 sat next to Tae-hyun's medical bed. "Why did you risk your lives for our people?" Vex 9 asked. Tae-hyun looked confused by the question. "Because they needed help. But they are not your species, not your responsibility. They're people," Tae-hyun said simply. Vex 9 was quiet for a long moment. Then he asked, "The stories we heard about humans fighting criminals, are they true?" "Some of them," Tae-hyun admitted. "We fight hard when we have to, but we prefer to help people, not hurt them." "But you could hurt us if you wanted to?" Tae-hyun looked sad. "Yes, we could, but why would we want to?" That evening, Vex 9 called together all the Zephyrian leaders. Jin was invited to join the meeting. "We have been wrong about humans," Vex 9 announced. "They are not monsters, they are protectors." Scholar Yex 7 disagreed. "The rescue proves they are dangerous. They survived conditions that would kill us. They are still the unstoppable warriors from the stories." "Yes," Vex 9 replied. "But they use their strength to save people, not destroy them." Defense leader Kex 2 spoke up. "If humans are protectors, not destroyers, then having them as allies would make us safer, not more dangerous." The debate continued for hours. Finally, Vex 7 asked the important question. "Ambassador Park, if Zephyrians become allies with humans, what would you expect from us?" Jin thought carefully before answering. "Nothing more than friendship. We would help protect you from criminals and disasters. In return, we hope you would help us when we need it. You would not ask us to become warriors like humans?" "We would never ask anyone to become something they're not," Jin replied. "Your peaceful nature is valuable. The galaxy needs species that choose peace." Vex 9 made the final decision. "We will join the human alliance. But not because we fear humans, because we trust them." 3 months later, the results were clear. The Zephyrian alliance changed everything. The message that went out to the galaxy was simple. Zephyrians are allied with humans. Zephyrians are protected. Criminal organizations immediately marked Zephyrian space as off-limits. Pirates and slavers knew that attacking Zephyrian ships would bring human retaliation. But more importantly, other peaceful species began to reconsider their fear of humans. If the terrified Zephyrians could become human allies, maybe the scary stories weren't true. The first species to make contact was the Aquarian water dwellers. Then came the Silverian crystal builders. Each new alliance brought more security and friendship. The criminal networks tried to spread new scary stories about humans, but it was too late. Too many species had met real humans now. Commander Jin-ho Park sat in his office, reading reports from across the galaxy. Human diplomats were busy with new contact requests. Human rescue workers were helping with disasters on dozen worlds. Human teachers were sharing knowledge with alien students. The reputation built on criminal fears was being replaced by a reputation built on friendship. His sister's message arrived that evening. "Mission successful. The galaxy is no longer afraid of humans. They're asking for our help instead." Jin-ho smiled and looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, species that had once hidden from humans were now proud to call them friends. The fear was gone. The friendship was just beginning.